Alright, Final Blessings, we are back with another video. Alright, before I begin, very busy. Obviously a lot going on. We are now only 3 days away from the 8th annual Journey to the Black Adept Conference. Just an update as the recording of this video. Just out about traveling, moving around. The itinerary is finished. We will get that out as the recording of this video sometime later tonight. That'll probably be late. So the itinerary is done. We are booked. Hopefully we can get everything on the agenda accomplished. So we sat it out, we looked at it, we planned it. We should be able to. So you guys will get that. I will be reaching out to people confirming that they'll be there Thursday evening for the meet and greet. So you should be receiving an email. Just want to get an official head count. You will also see on the itinerary the ritual for both nights will be revealed to people when they show up. I did a list of rituals, what it is, on the itinerary. Now also keep in mind, as I said before, I don't stream anything. Nothing on Patreon. I don't offer any of that. I tried to keep the 8th annual Journey of the Black Adept Conference, or the conference in general. It's like one of them things, as I've said before in the past, like you need to be there to experience it. Okay? That's just the way it is. All right? So if you want to sign up, you still got time. Reach out to me, khnum19@gmail.com. 4-day event. Kicks off Thursday night, October 30th, with a meet and greet. Friday and Saturday, classes and workshops from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. We come back in the evening on both nights to do a ritual around 7:30, 8 p.m., followed with a group social and dinner. And then Sunday from noon to 4 p.m., question and answer session finishes off the conference on Sunday, November 2nd, with yours truly. All right. If you want to attend in person or virtually, shoot me an email, khnum19@gmail.com, and I will get that information out to you. All right. If you're interested in a spiritual reading or a consultation, I offer various different types of readings: Klapothic demonic readings, Santa Muerte readings, Egyptian oracle readings, shadow work readings, which is always a good place to begin if you're looking for a sense of purpose and direction and see what you got going on. Deity readings to see what gods, goddesses, demons, or spirits walk with you. Or maybe you're just interested in a consultation because you got a bunch of questions about the occult and the left-hand path, and you just want to focus on certain areas of interest or topics, etc. Shoot me an email, khnum19@gmail.com. Please include in your email your full availability on a weekly basis. Okay? Make sure you do that, very important, and the time zone you're in, and we'll find a day and time that works for both of us. All right? Also, if you want to sign up for classes, the way to do that is go to the official Patreon page, patreon.com/Baniti, Baniti, tier 3. That's the tier you want to join. That will give you access to the 3 private classes I do every month on Patreon, including the group ritual we do together at the end of the month. Also, keep in mind when you join the Patreon page, it just doesn't give you access from the day you join moving forward. It also gives you access to everything in the archives, which is going 6+ years back. All right, when you go to the Patreon page, patreon.com/Baniti, Baniti, go to the collection section and you'll see all the ongoing classes that are happening right now, with new classes being added on a regular basis. There's a lot, trust me when I tell you. All right, also don't forget to check out the social media pages: Primordial Chaos 9 on Instagram, Primordial Chaos 2 words on Facebook, primordialchaos.com 3 on TikTok. On TikTok, go to those platforms, subscribe. That's the way to stay up to date of what I'm doing here at Primordial Chaos. Subscribe to those platforms. All right. Also, don't forget to check out the Primordial Chaos podcast, available on Spotify and all major podcast platforms. Don't forget also to hit that like button. It only takes a split second. Hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and after you subscribe to the channel, hit that notification bell. Check all notifications, and hopefully you get a notification anytime I go live or anytime that I post a new video. All right. Other than that, the direct link to the podcast, the social media pages, the Primordial Chaos Patreon page to sign up for classes, my email, all those direct links are in the description box of the video that you are watching right now. All right, so let's get into it. So we got the conference right around the corner. We are in that time of year. In this video, I want to talk about: Are you making the progress on your path? Are you charting your results? Are you bringing about necessary change or illusionary change? Okay. So I bring that up because some people stay on paths or stay doing things or stay locked in the spiritual systems because they like it. And you know the old adage, everything that you like isn't good for you, right? And that's person, places, or things. Everything you like just isn't good for you. Some people are struggling because they refuse to change, or they're resisting the change, or they're in denial about the change. Remember, anything that doesn't change is dead, right? That's a basic metaphysical concept. So if you're not constantly changing, growing, evolving, then bottom line is this: you need to question yourself about what it is that you are doing. Okay? What is it you are doing? And if you can't look back, reflect, and say, hey, I've been on this particular spiritual system for X amount of time, but if you're not seeing, I'm talking about substantial change. We're not talking about little just random shit, right? Because sometimes people will use that as an excuse to stay locked into a system that they're on because they like it or whatever the case may be. As I said before, I've run into so many people over the years that have been part of groups, and I was there at one time, so I know. That were part of groups, organizations, different spiritual systems, and because either they had a long time invested in it, or they had some form of loyalty to it, that was their justification of why they stayed in it, right? And sometimes it's what people don't realize is called complacency. So sometimes people just get comfortable. They don't want to change. So let's also be clear on this. Some people just don't like change, right? Some people are set in their ways, as they say. You know, they'll say you can't teach an old dog new tricks. They're comfortable with that, and that's fine. But it's not fine when you try to come on a path like this and you're fooling yourself. You're not hurting anybody else, but you're hurting yourself, okay? So if you're on any spiritual path and it's not bringing about change, it's not bringing about evolving, then you need to question yourself what it is you're doing, point blank, okay? The other thing too, which is very important, and again, I'm touching on these topics because this is what the conference is about: bettering yourself, right? Mastering yourself on all levels, spiritually, mentally, emotionally, physically, financially, all of those things. None of them are obsolete, okay? If you're not challenging yourself, if your path is not challenging, if it's mundane and it's just, boring, rigid, and it's just redundant, and you're doing the same shit over and over, you might want to question yourself, okay? That complacency, or what makes people want to, feel comfortable, as they say, that's not a good thing, okay? And it's not something any individual should ever get stuck in. Now, I see this too with people that come on the occult and the left-hand path, and this is almost the same thing, but in a different form, you can say. I see people come on the path and they gravitate to one thing, and then I've even seen it get excessive to the point where they're exclusive to that particular path. Okay, now let me say this. Look, as I said before, it is completely your choice. You exercise your free will how you see fit. You can do whatever the hell you want. That's up to you. That's your business. It ain't got nothing to do with anybody else. But you're making a huge mistake when you're on this path, the path to self-mastery, the left-hand path, the occult, You have to understand you are all those things and all those things are you. When you lay claim to one thing specifically, you limit the possibilities of what you can obtain and what you can become on this path. As I said before, real spiritual sovereignty or freedom, and we're not talking about Moorish sovereignty because that's a bunch of bullshit. But anyway, it's a whole nother story. When I say spiritual sovereignty, you're the governor, the ruler, the controller over your spiritual destiny and the path you take. And you've heard me say this before in videos over the years. The beauty of this is tomorrow I can get up and I'm vibing with, working with Egyptian Heka and the Egyptian deities. I might wake up next week, 2 weeks from now, right? And I'm feeling in a mood to work with Luciferian spirituality. I might feel a little vampiric the following week after that. You get my point? I might feel like working with Hermetic alchemy after that. I might be in a Necronomicon mode. The beauty of, see, that's real freedom, where you are not constrained, you are not confined to one specific ideology. See, when you put a title on yourself, stop putting titles on yourself, because that limits, one, who and what you are. And what it does is it gives other people the comfortability in their ignorance to feel safe and secure. Because like I said before, when you tell people, like, we all have gotten this question on this path, everybody. When people can't figure out, quote unquote, what your religion is, you ever get, what's your religion? You ever get that? And you say, well, I don't have a religion or believe in religion. Then what's the next question? I know you're reading my mind. Do you believe in God? See, insecure folks will ask you questions like that because 9 out of 10 times the person that's asking you that question, they're more than likely a Muslim, Christian, or Jew, or somebody of the monotheistic faith. So they need to put you in a box to make themselves feel comfortable. Because if you say, yes, I'm a Muslim, a Christian, or a Jew, they know what that is. So they go, oh, okay. But when you say things like I'm spiritual, I tell people, well, I believe, in a path of self-mastery. Oh, what's that? So you believe in God? Well, I believe I'm spiritual, right? When you throw these things out there where you're not confining yourself to a title, I tell people I'm on a path of self-mastery, right? Do you believe in God? No, I do not believe in God, not in the way monotheistic Christianity teaches it, if that's what you're asking. No, I don't believe in God the way you believe in God. And I don't believe in the concept of God through the monotheistic forms. And the problem I see with a lot of people who are on a so-called path of awakening, a conscious path, the occult, the left-hand path, a lot of them are still suffering from post-traumatic religious messiah-itis, Jesus syndrome, as I said, or sky daddy syndrome, right? So what they've done is they've replaced it with another concept because they still can't get over the hurdle of mastering themselves and embracing the fact that they are God or Goddess. So they'll say things like the great source. When people say shit like this, the great source, the cosmic all, I mean, there's so many different names people throw out there. God frequency, what other names I've heard? The Most High. I mean, there's a bunch. I could sit here and just really, really reflect. There's just the Supreme Being, the force that controls, the force, whatever. Ask somebody to break that down in detail without using spookism and religion. I'm saying that because you'll find 99.9% of the time there's still a monotheistic religious overtone to who and what people think God is. I don't care. I've heard it all. I've heard every terminology that they think is heavy and deep that is removing them from the indoctrinated mentality of religion, and it's still the same thing. Okay? The divine source, the cosmic all, and blah, blah. I need you to break that down for me factually, not your interpretation of it, because I'm saying that because we're back to square one. Some sky daddy, spook sky daddy, sitting somewhere far out there somewhere, controlling the courses of the strings of your life, and it's not reality, right? It's no different to people, let's say people, and I'm telling you this because I was there. That's like, you hear me always joking about this, always bring this up. I can reflect my many years in Ifa, and I was in denial at the time, but when I look back and reflect on it, some of them are more religious than religious folks. Like in a lot of African traditional religions, say Ifa for this case, you put a lot of food offerings out there, right? Let me just go to show you how deep the programming and indoctrination is. So you might put apples out there for Shango or bananas, or you might put a pineapple out there for Oshun or watermelon for Yema, whatever. I've watched over the years being at many tambours, many benbeis for the Orisha, and people will set up, if whatever particular Orisha is, they'll set up a shrine and they'll put offerings in there. And sometimes it could be a 2-3 day event. Maybe somebody got crowned and it's a multi-day event, etc. People will say stupid shit. And I've heard this multiple times. Now, at the time, I didn't really focus on it. But when I think about it now, see, sometimes to recognize foolishness, you got to step outside the box. Right? When you're in the box, you don't see it because you're a part of it. When you step outside the box and analyze, which I do now, I see it. Then people will say dumb shit like, look, Shango's eating the bananas because they're decaying, or the apples, they're decaying, and eventually as they decay and rot, they'll just kind of shrivel away and basically get down to almost nothing. Just bits and pieces of what it was. And people will say dumb shit like Shango's eating the bananas. And I'm like, when I look at that shit now, I'm like, that is some ignorant ass shit. Because anybody knows if you leave bananas, per se, out on your kitchen counter, like a lot of people, in the kitchen, they have a fruit bowl with, I have that in my kitchen, pears, apples, bananas, oranges, etc. A lot of people, they have a fruit bowl in their kitchen on the counter. We want to grab an apple real quick, a banana, whatever. Everybody knows if you leave bananas on your kitchen counter for X amount of time, what happens to them people? They become overripe. Then if you leave them too long, they'll get soft. And if you leave them there, they'll just rot to complete blackness and start decaying and literally start evaporating. Right? So ain't nobody eating the damn bananas. But this is, see, when you want to feed individuals who are looking something to serve and be a slave to, because that's what they've been programmed from the time they came out of the womb of their mother. We all were. We were all programmed into servitude, right? Majority of people here in the Western Hemisphere, I'm saying majority because I know there's always the 2 and 3 people that, I wasn't raised in religion, and that's great. But you still grew up in a country that's influenced by it, and it's everywhere. And it does affect you on a psychological level, whether you're aware of it or not. But for those who were grown up in religious households, a lot of us were put right into those systems of indoctrination. Like I said this before, think about this for a minute. And now this is from a religious perspective. Does God exist? The average religious person would say, most definitely. Okay. Now, my next question is, think about when you were a small child, okay? Think about when, at some point, you weren't aware or you didn't know that God existed, correct? We can all agree on that. At some point, you became of age and aware where somebody either brought to your attention that there was a God. It could have been a teacher. It could have been at church. It could have been one of your parents. It could have been any of those things, right? So at some point, you were introduced to the so-called existence of God or the Creator. Yes? We'd all would have to agree with that. So my question would be this to a religious person. Did God exist before somebody introduced to you the concept that a God existed? See, I already know. Most people say, well, of course he did. Yes, he did. This, that, and the third. But then here's where everybody gets stuck like Chuck. How would you be able to validate and prove that to me? One, without using the Bible. One, without using what you were programmed and taught. How would you be able to validate a yes to that question? I know there's people, I could, yeah, this and that. And they're going to come up with all their opinions, their so-called theories. That's not what I'm asking for. We could theorize. We can go to different texts. We can go to different spiritual systems. I'm not asking you to validate it from some spiritual system or practice or concept or definition. I'm asking you, the individual, how, if your name is John or Mary or whatever, I'm asking you, how can you, John, how can you, Marie or Mary, how can you confirm for self that God existed before you were aware to the existence of a so-called God. It was going to sound crazy, existing. See, the point that I'm trying to bring, people get stuck like Chuck because they are trying to define things by a three-dimensional understanding and existence of person, place, and thing. Okay? See, every answer you would give to that would be incorrect because every answer or response is going to be under one of those three umbrellas of person, place, or thing. So the next question would be then, Baniti, what is the answer to that? It's not so much just an answer, it's a methodology or a process of getting to that answer. Okay? This is why your ritual work is so important. This is why opening the astral gates and being able to vibrate beyond a three-dimensional existence of person, place, and thing is critical. Because the answer to those questions lie outside of three-dimensional thinking and understanding. I don't know how many times I have to say this, going back 20 plus years. Like I used to get this question years ago in class. How can you prove, or who and what is God? Right? And then the reactionary people want to jump right on it, thinking they got the answer, and they ain't saying a bunch of nothing. You're saying three-dimensional bullshit. Why you can't answer that is because if you really understand, quote unquote, what they're trying to convey to you to who and what God is, you have to get that understanding beyond a three-dimensional existence. That's my whole point. You're trying to confine something that can't be confined by a three-dimensional existence. Person, place, and thing. And I don't know why people, it's so hard for them to register that. Sit in a room and go around a room and ask people, what's your understanding of what God is? And I can tell you all the answers you're going to get. Being this guy, God is love. God is the Most High. The atheists, which they're wrong too, because they'll say, well, God is just a theory. I'm an atheist. I don't believe in God. Well, by calling yourself an atheist, you kind of stamp the concept of God on you, whether you're aware of it or not. Why? The word atheist, right, comes from the word atheist has root in the Greek word theos, where you get the English word theory. When you look in the New Testament of your Bible, every time you see the word God, it says theos. So what are the translators telling you? That God is a theory, right? They're using the Greek word theory for God in the Greek text. So they're telling you God is a theory. They can't even confirm what God is. And then some atheists will come along and say, I don't believe in God. Well, the very fact that you're calling you an atheist, you do have a theory. It's just anti what you think God is. So then the next question to the atheist, right? And I already know where they're going to go with this. The next question to the atheist, well, how did you come into existence? I'm not even going to tackle that here. That could be a whole other video. They're going to go to evolution, this, that, and the third. But I guarantee it's all going to come back on them again, and anything that they said would still not validate their existence, because it goes beyond that. Okay? So my point I'm trying to get at, people are always trying to answer shit from a three-dimensional perspective, thinking they know what the fuck they're talking about, and they don't. Okay? And I am not saying I'm the only one that knows what they're talking about. I'm not saying that. But I am saying a lot of the people who respond like that are 100% incorrect. Okay? That I am saying. And I stand behind that. And I'd be more than happy to have a dialogue on that. This is why, like, for an example, people will bring up, is there such thing as reincarnation and life after death? That's a question you must come to the realization of through your spiritual work. Yes, I can only tell you from my experience. I want to be clear on this before I wrap this up. Yes, reincarnation is real. Yes, living past lives is real. Have we lived? All of that is real. I'm saying that because through my work, I've come to the realization of it. Not just from reading books, not just from concepts and theories, from teachers and authors. That is something that must be experienced in order to be confirmed. Because we can sit here and have a discussion and debate and theorize, but if a person has not come to the awareness of that, it's not real to them. You should never accept and embrace anything until you've confirmed the reality of it for self. That's when truth becomes real. I don't know how many times I got to say that. Just because, like, for an example, how many YouTube people get on YouTube nowadays and say they got to download from the ancestors, right? Or I got a message from the gods, or or this, that. That's very subjective in nature. Because as I've said before, the question I always raise when I hear that is, if you, for an example, if you say I got to down, and everybody says it, if you say you got to download from the spirits or the, I want you to specifically identify who and what ancestors and spirits you're speaking to. Nothing vague. No, I'm talking about specifically, narrow it down, name, type of entity, spirits that you're speaking to. And are you saying those spirits, they vouch for every individual? See, what people confuse, this is the shit that I'm talking about. People have a personal subjective experience, and then they want others to co-sign off their own personal subjective experience. It doesn't work like that. And anybody that agrees with it without having that experience similar or coming to the reality that that's real, then you are a follower. And it's no different than joining a religion and accepting things that you can't prove or confirm. That's why I don't get on here and talk about, run on and on about personal experience, and this happened and that happened, and then I had a dream, and then I saw this, and then the spirit tickled my ball sack, and then this happened, and then the room got cold, and then I saw this vision, and then that's all subjective in nature. People don't understand the difference between a subjective experience and an objective experience. Okay? You cannot convince people of a subjective experience, and it doesn't become a reality to them until they come to the realization of it. It's that simple. Okay? So, I don't know how many times it has to be said. This is why I don't get why people still get confused and still have no clue of deciphering between, and I've done videos going back years. How do you harmonize your objective and subjective consciousness? Go back in the archives. I got tons of videos there. Okay? There's tons of videos there. All you got to do is go in the archives where I've talked about that on and off, because this is the difference, quote unquote, which separates people who are grounded in their spirituality or people who are still in Spookyville. Okay? That's my whole point. All right? Anyway, I'm at my destination, so I'm about to wrap it up. Again, conference 3 days away, right around the corner. Looking forward to seeing, we got some new people coming this year. Looking forward to seeing those that are attending in person. I'll see you guys on Thursday evening. I might post one more video before this event. We got a lot of good stuff planned. It's going to be a fun weekend. 4-day event. We're going to have some fun. We're going to have some good times. We're going to do some ritual work. We're going to get into some deep discussions and studies and presentations. And this thing, as we've been doing it now the 8th year in a row, it gets better and better. All right. Other than that, if you need to reach out to me, my contact email address, all the links to the social media pages, the direct link to the Primordial Cast podcast, all of those links are in the description box of the video you're watching right now. And again, don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, hit that notification bell, click all notifications, and hopefully you get a notification every time I go live or post a new video, all right? Infernal blessings. I'm out of here. We'll talk soon.